And welcome everybody to our weekly conference call discussion. My name is Jonathan Jones. It's my pleasure, my privilege to be your host and moderator for the afternoon. Today's Sunday, and it's March the 12th, 2023. Hard to believe, but it is a couple minutes after 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you've got to change your clock, then you're going to be here late. But if you're listening by YouTube, welcome. We appreciate it if you subscribe and like and share links with those that you care about. We're going to be talking a little bit about a subject that we broached a couple weeks ago with Dr. Prasad. And our objective here is to pass on information that we believe can be of value to you and to anyone that you care about and anyone that you come in contact with. So Jeff is going to be sharing with us a couple of testimonials, and I think he's got one or two maybe lined up now. We spend a lot of time in our discussions talking about diabetes, and we really like to emphasize how good nutrition can have an impact on diabetes. But really, truth be told, good nutrition can have an impact on just about anything, because if you think about it, what would happen if a person, say, stopped eating? I mean, literally stopped eating, no nutrition, took in no food whatsoever. It wouldn't be long before they became extremely malnourished. Eventually, they would slip into wasting syndrome, and eventually they would simply expire. But it's those early stages that would be the problem, that would be the first manifestation of an issue, the malnutritive states. In those malnutritive states, if someone was testing or diagnosing them or observing them clinically, they would begin to see all kinds of manifestations of dis-ease. Now, I separated those two words because the word dis means not, and the word ease means at ease. So in a malnutritive state, a person's body would go from ease to not at ease. And it might be slow and progressive, but it would happen. They might develop high blood pressure. They might develop some other inflammatory conditions. They might develop some evidence of oxidative stress. Their mitochondria would stop working very, very early on in the process, so their energy would plunge. Their organs, when I mention oxidative stress, most of us would say, oh, what is our oxidative stress? We'll put it to you this way. Oxidative stress, if it manifests itself, say, on an organ, that organ just starts to work a little bit less, and then less, and then less. Now, let's say that's your liver. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing if the liver stops working, or it's not a good thing if the pancreas stops working. So really, every disease is a manifestation of some level of malnutrition. That's not me saying this. Dr. Linus Pauling was the first one that said it, Nobel Peace Prize laureate. He said that every disease is rooted in a vitamin and mineral deficiency. So we want to just share maybe one or two examples, one to start, of how a person who finds the food that's missing from food, how it can have a positive effect on their body. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the role of micronutrients in optimal health. Because Dr. Prasad did a lot of research on that. And the United States government awarded a patent with those very words in it. So we'll touch on that here in just a moment. So Jeff, what you got up your sleeve?
Well, got a couple of directions that we could go. Need to get a disclaimer out of the way first before we really show anything. And so do you want me to just pull the disclaimer up and go through it?
Okay. Absolutely, please.
Fantastic. We will do that because it's important that we protect ourselves, we protect these products, and particularly we protect Dr. Prasad because it's his name that is on every one of our products, along with his seal, his CQF standard. A standard is something that everything else gets measured by. And so follow along with me as I read. These statements and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational purposes only and includes information on recent advances in research on micronutrients. Engage, the micronutrient company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any disease or injury. Engage's products do, however, address our deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition that we are lacking. So interesting, Jonathan, over this last week, I must have been asked 3 times or had others call and explain what they have been asked about these products. And I believe it or not, I've got people asking, well, how long do I have to be on these? And how long do I have to be on these is just, it's just telling me that they have bought completely into the fallacy that in Western medicine, you only have to be on things a certain period of time, and then you'll be better. But we all know that you're only on certain drugs and prescription medications until it doesn't work any longer, and then they put you on another one until it doesn't work any longer, and then they put you on another one until it doesn't work any longer. And so when they're saying, hey, yeah, you might only need to be on these for 90 days, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months maybe, because they know that the body is going to just reject it, and then they go on to the next one. So there's always a looking hopeful towards not being on something. And so let me share this with everybody today. I've had Art and Carol's video up here before, and they had backed off into where they were just on a normal maintenance dose, and yet things started to occur in their bodies. COVID hit, and some and anyway, I was able to capture this just a few months back, and it has to do with not only do you not want to stop taking it, it's just you may have to increase the dose if you're up against a bunch of things. And so let me see if this is fitting today as we go into our discussion of how long do I have to be on this stuff versus how healthy do you really want to be. And so let me share this with everybody.
That sounds good.
Okay, let me share their first one, because there's probably people on here that have not met Art and Carol, and so let me just share with them their first one, and then we will go into a follow-up of that. So here we go. All right.
Hello, my name is Arthur Letke. This is my wife, Carol, and we're both diabetic and have had amazing results. Our blood sugars went down over 30 points. My neuropathy in my feet was gone in about 10 days and just felt incredible. The energy levels, everything just went up. I'm going to let Carol share her experiences with the Micro Daily with her.
Yes, and once again, my name is Carol, and I have 9 brothers and sisters that all have, basically most of them have type 2 diabetes. And my first experience was just so awesome that I couldn't ignore what was going on. My neuropathy had really been bothering me for years. And when I started taking the product, Micro Daily, I took the capsules in the beginning, my neuropathy, I can honestly say within 2 weeks, my feet were not hurting me anymore. And I got so excited. And we hooked up with our great upline, Jeff and Helen Ashby, and we traveled with them a lot. And every day, Art and I would say, we're not going to go a day without taking Micro Daily. And we did, and we were faithful, and we will always be faithful. Art just turned 72, and I'm turning 70 in 6 days. And we actually have more energy than what we did years ago before we got on this. And I really noticed it when I went to a family wedding last month, and there was a DJ there, and I danced straight for 3 hours. I was not tired. I have noticed a real boost in my energy and in Arthur's energy. And we are getting proactive in a lot of different avenues in our life. And I'm just going, what? What are we going to be like when we turn 75, Art? So this works. We love it. And we love sharing it. And people that just don't give it the chance that they should, we get really frustrated, but we just say, you know what? It's their choice. We always say you can't lead a horse to water, you know?
No, you can lead a horse.
Oh, you can lead a horse. I get things
But you
backwards.
can't make it drink.
You can't make it drink. So this is my testimony, and my testimony of this company, and my testimony is real. It's the truth. And we welcome anybody that is wanting to make a life change. Give it a chance. It's real. It's truth. Thank you.
It works.
Okay, so that's the first one, and now I don't know if we have time for it. If you want to tease us till the end,
Yeah. Bring them back in.
I have a follow up to that video, which was almost 6 years ago, is when they talked about it that way. But I found the other one. So tell me, I mean, just when you're ready.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, bring them in again in just a minute. I'll just do a little bit of an overview and explain how and why, what we have is unique, and why everybody should be seriously looking for something like this to add to their diet. So I think that kind of tells a huge part of the story right there, folks. But I'm going to show you a little bit of Dr. Prasad's slide presentation. No, actually, what I'm going to show you is before that, there's part of this that you really need to see to lay the foundation for this discussion. Is Dr. Prasad is an unbelievably brilliant man. So when the United States government reached out to him, the military, and said that they wanted something that was going to help the soldiers in the battlefield remain in optimal health, Dr. Prasad stepped up to the plate and knocked it out the park, as the saying goes. So that's what we're basically having access to right now. So what you're looking at right now is the actual patent that was granted by the United States government. I don't know if you can see this well or not. I think you can now. But just think about what's happening here. This is granted by the United States of America. So this is a US patent. And on that patent, it has the words here, multiple antioxidant, look at this, optimal health, complete formulation, ultimate complete formulation. And I don't want to emphasize the word ultimate, but I'm excited when I see that word. But the optimal health is what we said that we were going to be talking about. But think about it. Ultimate complete formulations, ultimate. We should look up the definition of the word ultimate, but that's what they put on this patent. And in this patent, Dr. Prasad commented, and you'll see it right here in the initial purpose of the invention is mentioned right there, that the idea is that this particular combination is chosen to produce long-term optimal health effects in individuals of various age groups and occupations. That was what this formulation was all about. Chosen to produce optimal health effects in individuals of various age groups and occupations, with particular emphasis on reducing and or eliminating acute and or long-term effects of environmental and physical stressors and toxic chemicals. Now, again, that was all about the military. That was what it was originally. This is Dr. Prasad. You can see he's the one that was on that original patent. The product was called MMF, or military micronutrient formulation. And I mentioned at the very beginning that a person who's in a malnutritive state eventually will manifest some level of dis-ease. I didn't say disease, I said dis-ease, where the body is not at ease. And it's all rooted in a lack of proper nutrients and or exposure to high levels of toxins, which translate in the body as free radicals. Now, look at this first paragraph, and I remember just touching on this with Dr. Prasad. It says their exposure to diverse agents such as ionized radiation, Now, you're wondering what ionized radiation is. That's the kind of radiation we get from cell phones, from microwaves, from our computer screens, all the radiation that's around us. Exposure to that. Exhaust fumes is on the list. Solvents and dust particles produce excessive amounts of free radicals. Now, just connect that. So all the things in our environment produce excessive amounts of what are referred to there as free radicals. Your next question should be, what are free radicals? That's highlighted in the very next sentence down. Free radicals are known to cause damage to various organs. Okay, how does it do that? Because one free radical goes and takes a chunk out of a cell and takes a chunk out of another cell. It's almost like, imagine if you're driving down the highway and you see a big old piece of metal fall off a truck and it's bouncing around on the highway as you're driving. And every chance it whacks into the side of a car. What does it do to the door of that car? Ooh, it hits a windshield on another car. Ooh, hits a hood on another car, hits the grill on another car. Every single thing it collides with, it takes a chunk out of it and does damage to it. That's what free radicals are doing inside the body. It's stealing electrons and making every single cell a little bit weaker. And you notice what it says, known to cause damage to various organs. It's got to do that millions of times, but that every time it happens, that organ becomes a little bit weaker. If you want to visualize it a little bit less graphically, think about an apple that's exposed to the air. Cut it open. What happens to the apple after a little while? Starts to turn brown. That's oxidative stress or free radical damage. If you leave it there long enough, it'll just shrivel up into a pile of mush. And eventually, it'll be nothing. That's what happens on the inside when we're exposed to free radical damage. The last sentence down here at the bottom, the condition of excess free radicals and the damage caused thereby is often referred to as oxidative stress. So when you hear the words oxidative stress, folks, be thinking in terms of organs working not as good. That's the whole point. Organs not working as well. Free radicals is a bad thing that leads to massive health issues, massive health problems. So that's not what you want. But Jeff already shared the disclaimer with us, but just keep in mind that as we talk about things here, the FDA has not evaluated any of these statements, the testimonies you heard and you will hear, purely anecdotal. This is for information and educational purposes only. But when Dr. Prasad was talking about optimal health, he actually wrote a paper. He wrote a paper that was connected to anti-aging, slowing the aging process. That's his newest published paper, by the way. And in there, he spotlighted cellular defects associated with the aging process and Alzheimer's disease. Now, he uses the word cellular defects, and I remember asking him, what do you mean by cellular defects? His answer was oxidative stress or free radical damage. Okay, so when you see that here, as a scientist, he was focusing in on the oxidative stress or the damage that was caused as a result of oxidative stress associated with aging, and then there was with a spotlight on Alzheimer's disease. So he says, in order to develop novel biological strategies for reducing aging process and the risk of Alzheimer's disease, and its improved treatment, is essential to identify cellular defects associated with aging and Alzheimer's disease. Did you get that? It's important to take a look at and spotlight exactly which car on the highway got hit. How many of those cars are associated with the liver? How many of the oxidative stress is associated with the brain? Focus in on the cellular damage that's associated with the brain. So they went on to do that. They used a worm, and they focused in on this worm, and eventually they focused in on this nematode, then a mouse, and they went on. They just went on and on and on with different animal models, identifying several defects associated with aging in animal models. You can't really do that very well with a human because humans live so long. That's the point. But they can do it with animals because they have a much shorter lifespan. They make observations. So what did they observe? Observations showed increased oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, impaired DNA repair capacity, shortening of telomeres, autophagy defects, impaired immune function, loss of collagen and elastin, changes in composition of intestinal flora in favor of harmful bacteria, increased production of beta amyloids, and a really, really mouthful one there. I decided I was going to just skip that one because it just didn't have any most of us, it's completely over our head anyway, and abnormal behavior. So his next slides went on to describe more in detail each one of those components. We're not going to do that, but we are going to touch on just a couple of them. Once again, you'll notice the expression oxidative stress comes up. He defines it. It's produced when excessive amounts of free radicals overwhelm our antioxidant defense system. Oxidative stress, which is very damaging. Chronic inflammation, once again, free radicals is involved. Oxidative damage is involved. If it's not repaired, it produces something called pro-inflammatory cytokines. Now, when Dr. Prasad talks about pro-inflammatory cytokines, most of us, our eyes just roll back in the back of our head. We almost go into a little bit of a coma. But basically, as the body is trying to defend itself, it's also giving off chemicals, signals, trying to get the immune system to come to the rescue. And if the immune system doesn't respond properly, those pro-inflammatory cytokines, they become part of your problem also. So not only are you dealing with free radicals as a problem, now you become your own problem. That's part of the dying process. That's dis-ease. That's the body not functioning the way that it's supposed to. Pro-inflammatory cytokines start creating an even greater problem. Mitochondrial dysfunction, just think about your battery running down in your car. You ever get in your car and the battery just doesn't quite want to start? I'm sure you run into that, Jeff. You're out there in 34-degree weather. I don't understand anything like that. It's I hate to say it, but it's 78 degrees and very sunny out here right now. Got the air conditioner on. Have to keep the air conditioner turned down to about 76 or 77 in order to keep, to not be sweating and perspiring in here. It's just so warm. Sorry, Jeff. But if you get in your car and you don't have a very good battery, you turn the ignition and it goes, yang, yang, yang. I'm familiar with that sound. That's what happens inside our bodies. When you're feeling a lack of energy, it's because your battery is low. If you trace that all the way back, it goes to the mitochondria. That's where it is. So that's what produces energy. But as it's producing energy, it's giving off free radicals, oxyradicals. And that in turn can further exacerbate the situation and can further cause greater oxidative stress. Impaired DNA capacity repair, and so on. Those are just the different things that Dr. Prasad talked about. The one I really want to focus attention on here for just a second. It's a little bit technical, but it's associated with something called NRF2. And I wish everybody would really just get that in your mind that NRF2 is important, but it's right there connected to shortening of telomeres, okay? A telomere is something on the very bottom of your DNA. You know how the DNA it's like shoelaces, and at the bottom of it, it's got these two little telomeres on the very bottom, and it's all swirling together. Well, at the very bottom, those telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter every time the cells divide. That's what this is talking about, right? A small part of the DNA sequence is lost every time cell divides. Oxidative stress, take a look, folks. Take a look. Oxidative stress increases the rate of loss of DNA sequence, shortening the length of telomere. Look at the last sentence there. Do you see the last sentence? Do you see it? The cell will stop dividing without telomere. So every time it divides, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. When it doesn't exist, we're dead. We're done. But look at that. Oxidative stress makes it happen faster. What Dr. Prasad put in his formula There's 4 components in his formula that improves NRF2, that slows the rate of telomere loss. He's got 4 components in his product that does that. And autophagy is a whole nother discussion in itself, but let me tell you something, that's anti-aging right there, okay? Dr. Prasad dove deep on this subject to help us to appreciate that there's at least 3 different micronutrient formulas that can be beneficial to us when it comes to optimal health and when it comes to anti-aging. I don't need to specify this loss of collagen and elastin. You know what that is, right? That's called, collagen is what holds our body together. 30% of the entire body protein is made up of collagen. It holds everything together. Elastin is what is the elasticity of our skin. Without elastin, we get really wrinkly. And it's a really bad aging indicator. That's part of the cellular defect in aging. His paper, his research was all about reducing this. In every single one of these components, every one of them, did you notice it? Oxidative stress is mentioned. Every single cellular defect identified includes oxidative stress. We don't need to talk about the details. We don't need to dive any deeper than that. Just know that it involves oxidative stress. The next thing he talked about was changes in the intestinal flora in favor of harmful bacteria. So in other words, if you don't have in time, a manifestation of aging is a bad gut. The bacteria in our gut goes more toward the bad guys and less toward the good guys. That's it. The worst thing, in my opinion, is this issue having to do with beta amyloids. Beta amyloid is a protein that can accumulate in the brain. Increased production of beta amyloid plays an important role in development of AD, Alzheimer's disease, beta amyloid. That's a bad thing. Once again, what do you see in common with this? Do you notice anything in common that I've repeated about 80 times so far on this discussion alone? Did you notice it? I hope you did. And if you could unmute yourself, I know somebody would be screaming it out. Oxidative stress. It's not just a bad thing. Look at it, folks. It increases the production of beta amyloids. Beta amyloids is the beginning of Alzheimer's disease. That's how it starts. It's a bad thing. Okay? But once again, common denominator is oxidative stress. So Jeff, if you've got, before you can give us the follow-up on art there if you want, but I really would like to have one of those Alzheimer's disease stories in there too at some point. You want to share one of those? You can do the Alzheimer's disease later if you want. Would that work? I'm going to stop my share and let you bring in art or Alzheimer's disease. Take your pick.
You know, let's just, because of so many of the things that you've just set the stage with were oxidative stress and things that we face in our lives. Let's go with somebody that, 6 years ago gave us that testimony. And as life progressed and they faced different things and they'll describe it, instead of not needing the microdaily any longer, they went just the opposite. And while you're watching that, I'll look at the possibility of Michi Morris and her mom, or
okay, we're cool. Okay, yeah, whichever. That's good.
All right, so yeah, let's go with this right here, right now.
In the past 3 years, I had issues with COVID, which Carol and myself went into the hospital for 3 weeks. I had pneumonia more than once. And then they tested me and I came down with valley fever, which we had no idea what that was. And turns out that's a fungal caused from the soil. And it's primarily in the Southwest, well, Mexico, California, Arizona, New Mexico, in southern Utah from the soil in those areas. You can get this. So they got me on an antifungal tablet, which has helped. But I was on a call with Patrice, a veterans call, about 2 weeks ago, and I heard this one elderly gentleman talking about how taking 27, whatever number of EMF it was, had helped him, and he was able to breathe better, and that he couldn't breathe at all, basically. And I went, wow, that's something I need to take a look at. So I talked with Carol afterwards, and I told her that. And then somebody else brought up the fact to throw in the brain boost. So I've been taking for the past 2 weeks 12 brain boosts, 6 twice a day, and then 10 twice a day on the EMF. And I'm going to bump it up now to 3 times a day. But my overall health, my blood sugar went down really low to where now I'm cutting back my metformin and my insulin intake. And on the high blood pressure, I don't take any high blood pressure meds at all. If I do, my blood pressure goes too low. So that has excited me. And it's good to be able to get excited again at my age. But we feel really good about the Engage products. We always have. And now that I'm showing these results, I feel I need to share them with everybody because it's remarkable what it's been doing.
That's incredible.
And he just lays it all out there, just being as authentic as he can. I mean, they were taking it, but just at the maintenance doses. And it was just not enough to tip those scales back in their favor, where Dr. Prasad talks about that oxidative stress.
Yeah.
It just has to be, mitigated, eliminated. And we're doing that through nutrition. And so just like the disclaimer that you're bringing up here, we're out in a public forum. And so you need to understand that what Art just represented is his own experiences. And so, thank you, Jonathan, for allowing me to share this type of information, because even those that are just coming on and looking at the microdaily products, this is just food that no longer exists in your food. If you feel like you need to, get some more energy in, fill the tank up a little better, take more. It's just, it's been incredible to see how many lives are being changed by just correcting micronutrient deficiencies.
Something that simple, Jeff.
Something that simple.
Something that simple. So hearing it directly from someone, and I think that it's really important for folks to hear that in this setting right now, because oxidative stress can be a little bit, or it can be massive. You can fight it a little bit, or you can fight it hard.
Yeah.
The decision is really yours, and it's all based on how well we want to feel, and of course our personal budget. So I'm just telling you personally, I don't have cancer, Jeff, and I don't want it, but I'm telling you, I'm taking 3 times the dose right now. I'm doing 3x twice a day, and with that, my indicator light's my right toe. My indicator light stops blinking. So I think the body tells you, what level of oxidative stress you're at if you're looking to avoid dis-ease.
You remember those conversations that you're having, Jonathan, where you were saying, well, Jeff, I'm taking this much, but I'm not experiencing it until you shifted over to the micro daily EMF, up the dose, and now you're kind of doing a custom, dose. It's not all just micro daily EMF. You've got some of the purple bottle going in at times, and so it's just like that's what we do. We listen to our bodies, and we are the ones that are practicing on our bodies. We're not allowing others.
There you go. There
So-
you go. That's the key right there. Help the doctor that's trying to help you. And I had a recording that I wanted to share, but I think I'll save it for Tuesday night for anyone who's coming. But there's a recent news report where they are talking about the lack of primary care physicians right now. They're having a hard time finding primary care physicians. The shortage is massively low, and people are searching and taking years to find a primary care physician. They just can't find one. So in the meantime, they're suffering and basically doing nothing preventative and just hoping that everything's going to turn out okay. So you can either sit around and wait for a PCP to show up, or you can be your own primary care physician. So those are the options that we have. So I don't know, Jeff. I think that tells a lot of the story. I was going to go ahead and cover some of the part 2 of Dr. Prasad's slowing the aging process down, but I'm just going to throw it out there as an invitation for Tuesday night. So if anybody wants to hear the rest of that, as I try to break down the rest of Dr. Prasad's paper on anti-aging, then maybe Tuesday night would be a good time for you to be here. So I do that. We'll be doing that, this part 2, on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got to just check with Google to see what time that is wherever you are. But it won't take long. It'll be about 30 minutes. But I guarantee you that it will be worth your while if you decide to come for this coming Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Same Zoom ID and same password, so nothing will change there. But understand something, folks, that you can do a couple things. The main thing that we encourage you to do is get back with the person who invited you, but this is part of what Dr. Prasad recommends when it comes to anti-aging. The price has gone down, by the way. I think it's $250 now. So the amount has gone down on this. So that's pretty good. A little bit of a savings, $240 something. But I recommend that you get on a subscription for these items right here. So talk to whoever invited you, and they will help you with this. The one thing that I mentioned earlier that has 4 components for NERF 2 is microdaily EMF. And the thing that changes the gut bacteria in favor of the good bacteria is the probiotic boost. And if you are interested in elastin and collagen and hyaluronic acid that was not mentioned, then you want to go with collagen daily. So those are the 3 minimum items that you want to take. But if you want to crank up your brain a hair or 2, no pun intended, if you want to crank it up a little bit, this is one of the highest recommended products to me, in my opinion. I take 2 of those things twice a day, and ooh, la, 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 la. Boy, I start remembering stuff that I didn't know I forgot. It really is pretty amazing. But it's like drinking a couple of double shots of espresso without having to pay for it that night and not being able to sleep through the night. Very, very healthy. But we'll talk a little bit about each of those items, by the way, this coming Tuesday, so you can have an understanding as to why they're good. But I suggest you go ahead and get your order in right away. In fact, the next testimonial that Jeff is going to share with us with Michi Morris, then you'll hear exactly someone who had benefit from those products, this the collagen and the brain boost, and the impact that it had as it related to Alzheimer's disease. In fact, if I remember correctly, Michi Morris's mom had Alzheimer's disease for about 10 years, I think it was, wasn't it, Jeff? I believe it was
correct. Yeah. Yep. She says for about 10 years now. So.
Yeah. So we'll take a few questions, but if you want to share that story real quick, why don't we just slip that in there and then take a few questions?
Okay. I'll do that. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that it was already spotlighted. Here we go. I'm used to just doing all these things myself, Jonathan, and it's so easy to come onto your programs where you
What
know
you're about
what's
to
going
hear,
on.
folks, is a story that that we was shared with us. If we can get Michi on the screen with us, okay, there she is. So you're about to hear a discussion, with Michi that she shared with us a couple of weeks ago. That was quite interesting, quite compelling. She had no idea that we were going to be talking at all about anything having to do with the brain. But Michi, if you would just tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit about your mom's condition and then what you observed as she began to add nutrition to her diet.
Yes, my mother is an Alzheimer's person, and she's been that way for about 10 years. But I've been taking care of her here at home. And each year around about her birthday, around about April, I would see more declining. She was doing pretty good. Some sentences, kind of washing her face. Even now she's sitting over here. She would fold her clothes. I would give her a basket of clothes and she could, fold the clothes or little hand towels up until about the first of this year. Well, around about February, March, everything just kind of stopped. She wasn't doing any of it. And the washing the face, getting out of the tub, she couldn't do any of that since about 2019. And so I was sharing that about 3 weeks ago. I started her on the collagen once a day. I would put it in her Ensure, and sometime we would put it in the cereal, and maybe about one brain boost. And one day in the shower, I turned around to get some more soap and she just stepped out of the shower. She was out of the shower. And I'm like, whoa, be careful. And then I got her back in the shower and I was like, why don't you try and wash your face? Not only did she wash her face, she washed her neck and continued to wash her entire body. And just kind of skipping over some things I even shared with the neighbors. We took her walking on a walker and they were like, oh, we haven't seen her in a while. And they started calling her name. Her name is actually Queen. They call her Miss Queen. And she started waving at them. And they was like, wow, she's doing really well. And so even on this week, now, mind you, I went over to see about my brother that I shared that has the pancreatic cancer. So I had not given her the collagen. I think I only gave it to her Monday and Tuesday, perhaps on Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday, I did not give it to her. Well, we got another shipment in and I gave it to her yesterday. And I gave her the brain boost on yesterday. Well, last night when we were getting ready to go to bed, and I know you said you wanted to know anything she did, even if it's a toothpick. We were getting ready to go to bed and she loves to try and make up her bed. Well, I wish I would have had my camera. She got in the bed and crawled on all fours to go over to the other side to make her bed. And that blew me away. She has not done that, anything remotely like that in about 5 years. And I'm like, wow. And she crawled back and came on the other side. And of course, I tried to get her to do it again. And of course, she wouldn't. And this morning, when I went to get her up before church, she was already up sitting on the side of her bed. And she doesn't get up on her own. So she was just sitting on the side of the bed. And I'm like, oh, wow, look at you. And of course, she sat there a while. And then this evening when I went to get something to eat and I wrote it down and I told my husband I wasn't going to share with him until I got online. But when I went to Publix to get something to eat and I came back, she was sitting on the sofa and she was laying down. And I said, hi, Ma. And she goes, I'm just laying here. I just washed some things and I laid over here on the bed. 2 sentences. She has never, ever done that. And I gave her the collagen this morning, and I gave her a brain boost and a micro daily. And she patted the sofa for her bed. She said, I'm just laying here on the bed. I just washed. She couldn't get the whole sentence. I just washed some things. I'm just laying here. And tears on the inside. I could not believe she was able to get those many words out. And I'm like, something is going on here. Something is going on here, because I have not given her anything but that collagen and that brain boost. And that was with 2 days of even skipping it. So something is happening. Something is happening.
It sure sounds like it to us. That's incredible.
Just it's amazing. I'm so grateful that you were able to capture that, Jonathan. And it was on a Sunday evening, just like we're experiencing right now. Not even this many participants, and yet Michi came forward and just described so authentically the difference that just correcting a micronutrient deficiency did for her mom. I mean, how many people out there are praying for that much longer with a parent? I mean, if they could just come back long enough to have a conversation or two, or just what would you pay? What would you pay for something like that?
I think that I know that there's a lot of folks that would give anything to have those moments, just to have those conversations, Jeff. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that understand it. And the part that really just jumps out there is that she said all she had put her mom on was just the collagen daily and the brain boost. All that was part of the discussion at the time. You know, I don't think she had the micro daily, or it was intermittent. But that just shows the power of just those two components themselves. So I'll explain on Tuesday night what the connection is between collagen and beta amyloids, and how the brain boost also has an impact there with those neurons that Dr. Prasad said maybe the stem cells still there. So there's a connection, direct connection between that. And all it does is give a possibility. And even if all you do is get a couple weeks of conversation before the person expires, you know, you got lucidity, you have communication where you can express your love for them, and they can express their appreciation that they've always been feeling, but they couldn't get it out. You know, so imagine being able to have that. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, and I know that on Coraline's team, they've been sharing Corrine and Olive's story, where, and I don't know if you've stayed up with that, but oh my goodness, talk about touching. Sent home to basically expire at home. They'd given her 72 hours to live, and drove her in an ambulance from the ICU to home, where she could pass away at home instead of in the hospital, because her doctor just says, I mean, her daughter says, I just don't want my mom to die in the hospital. And yeah, they're out going on road trips and shopping and doing all kinds of stuff. And that was just January. I mean, December 28th through January of this last year. So,
well, we got to get the update on that one. So we're going to be talking with Dr. Prasad about diabetes next weekend. I believe it's next weekend. And if that's the case, hopefully we can get that story as one of the stories that we can share to get some of the details. Just the beginning of it was phenomenal. Just what happened with her kidneys. And I still can't get it out of my head. Was here's someone who could not pass urine.
Nope.
And then all of a sudden, after four capsules of EMF, this woman who's a nurse practitioner says, oh, my mom was peeing like rain. Boy, that cracks me up every time I hear that. He's peeing like rain. All right, well, very good. Well, listen, folks, we got a couple minutes for just a few questions, just one or two questions. So if you're itching to get some clarification on something that was said, then let's go ahead and hear it now. So this is Lori? No, Jacqueline Dotson. Okay, Jacqueline.
Hi, Jeff, and hi, Jonathan. Yes, I had a question. We didn't talk about cancer today, but how great is the EMF for cancer? How well does it benefit ones? And I know I have a guest that I invited, and I wanted you to speak on that, please. Thank you.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Keep in mind the disclaimers that we put up. So we can't connect any of these products with any disease. However, what we can say is that the immune system is phenomenal when it comes to fighting cancer. The immune system is so powerful that it can kill you. So if something does not belong in you, the immune system can handle it when you put the right nutrients in the conversation. So when micronutrients is part of the discussion, the body becomes empowered to identify what does not belong there. So we're hearing anecdotal stories, Jacqueline, of people who are saying that after they finally find the food that's missing from food, that they've seen that their cancers are reconciling very, very nicely. Just last week, I got a text message from someone who about a year ago was diagnosed with a breast cancer, and all they were taking was the minimal amount of microdalane. And their doctor said that there was no more cancer. They canceled the treatments. They gave them nothing else. And that was mentioned live last week. Dr. Prasad commented on it last Sunday, as a matter of fact. So micronutrients, you can't go wrong with it. You can only benefit. There's only upsides with it. But if a person's got a serious situation, you notice what Art said. Art said when you've got a problem going on, you just got to take more of it. So when it comes to something that serious, you might want to go 3 times and an extra dose. 3 times the normal amount and an extra dose, if you can afford it. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your question.
You're welcome.
Yep,
Well,
I
I
agree.
think that was the only one, Jeff, that seemed to be itching to ask a question. So go ahead with your comment.
I was just saying, great suggestions. I was just on a phone call with Linda Gregerson. She's one of our freedom leaders on Beth's team.
Yes.
The one that originally provided us the live blood slides.
Yes.
She's shared multiple other success stories by doing just exactly what you described here for Jacqueline. And at some point we'll be able to get those out for public view, understanding that it is just their own experiences.
Right.
But phenomenal, life changing, sent home to die type situations again,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. There you go, folks. You're hearing it. There's no question about it. James, you have a question or a comment that you'd like to make along?
Just a comment. I bought the book, Dementia and Memory Loss, and I remember you mentioned the beta amyloid. I remember reading about how bad it was, and a lot of it I forgot. I got off my brain boost, so I got to get back on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that takes a real man to say, hey, you know what? I come on these calls and even I realize I need to get back on these things. Thanks, James. That was amazing.
I tell you, James and Jeff, I won't sit down here in front of this microphone unless I've got at least one in my body right before I get on here. I won't do it. I think I've done that before, and I put myself to sleep, I think.
Well, you heard how many Art was taken.
How many did he say he was taking?
14 a day.
14 brain boosts a day. All right, folks. So I just was telling my brother, you can't overdose on it. So don't hold back. Just take it and keep yourself nice and sharp. Okay, so listen, folks. We're extending the invitation to you to join us next week when we're interviewing Dr. Prasad. Dr. Prasad says he's got some new research on diabetes. He said, do you know how many new drugs they have for diabetes? That was what he said. He just was blown away. But because he's writing a new book on diabetes, we're getting to basically benefit from the fact that he is right now actively doing research on the subject. So it's a hot topic for him, even as we speak. So you want to make sure that you're here next week. Anybody that you know that has diabetes, you want them here next week. Anyone who can spell diabetes, you want them here next week. Anyone who thinks about diabetes, you want them here next week. But don't forget, part 2 of this discussion today will be this coming Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on the same station. This week on Wednesday, there's a couple of have any other programs this coming week on Wednesday also, Jeff?
No, Wednesday is Dr. Prasad's sweetheart's birthday. So it's Judy's birthday on Wednesday. So he will not be here. And today, the reason he's not here today is that they all went out for a family dinner in celebration of Wednesday. But yeah, he really dotes on her. You know, if you've been around both of them, and I hope you've all registered for and are coming to the family reunion where we get a chance to be around Dr. Prasad and his wife and his son, and it's going to be amazing. But yeah, he really cares about his former lab partner or lab assistant.
Wow. Well, I guess, you know what, as far as excuses go, that's a pretty good excuse for not being here today. Left us high and dry for his wife, huh?
It happens. It happens.
I'm not feeling as abandoned right now, Jeff. I'm not feeling quite as abandoned as I was. I said, man, he just hung me out here to dry. You left me here just with Jeff alone? What?
He set a good example, Jonathan. He's setting a good example.
That's all I got to say about that. And by the way, Freddie, that's the reason why I didn't answer the phone for anybody last night, because Joanna wanted to go take a walk. We went out. I don't want to hear it. I didn't care who called. 911 could have been calling me and I wasn't going to answer the phone yesterday. Yep. So I get it. All right, folks. Jeff, Freddie, thank you very much. Once again, folks, again, my name is Jonathan Jones. It's my pleasure and privilege to be your host and moderator. Thank you so much for all these incredible co-hosts that make this whole thing possible. You folks have a good night. We'll see you this weekend, Tuesday night.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jonathan.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Moya.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Freddie.
See y'all.
Take care.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a great evening.
Call another time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Okay.